I'm Dr. Katherine Harris. And if your mind is turned on in fantasy but your body feels flat in real life, I want you to hear this first. Nothing is wrong with you. Your body is not broken, your desire is not defective, and you haven't failed at intimacy. What you're noticing is a very human pattern where the brain lights up vividly in imagined or curated scenes, while the same brain, inside the same body, goes quiet in the messy, unpredictable, fully alive realities of partnered sex. Tonight, we're going to make sense of that gap. I'll show you why it happens, what it means about you and what it doesn't, and how to translate the electricity of your fantasies into practical, ethical, emotionally safe experiences in real life. Breathe. You're in good hands. Here's the starting frame. Sexual response is not a single switch, it's an ecosystem. Your brain constantly runs two systems, one that accelerates desire and one that slows it down. The accelerator notices novelty, attraction, scent, skin, subtext, story. The brakes notice stress, awkwardness, fear, distraction, performance pressure, pain, resentment, and anything that hints at risk. Fantasy usually controls the variables perfectly. There's no laundry on the chair, no self-consciousness about your belly, no uncertainty about your partner's feelings, no risk of rejection. You summon a scene and only the accelerator gets fed. In real life, all the brakes come along for the ride. That's not moral failure. That's neurobiology doing its job to keep you safe. There's a second piece most people never learn. Mental arousal and physical arousal don't always match moment by moment. You can be mentally excited and physically quiet, physically responsive and emotionally elsewhere, or both together. Think of it like weather and climate. The big pattern is your erotic climate. The moment-to-moment sensations are the weather. On some nights, the forecast is sunshine in your head while your body is overcast. That mismatch, which professionals call non-concordance, is normal enough to be expected, and it gets bigger when stress, shame, or pressure shows up. The goal is not to force perfect alignment. The goal is to gently coach your attention, your body, and your context back into collaboration. Let's talk about why fantasy feels so potent. First, control. In fantasy, you choose the cast, the pacing, the angles, the lighting, the power dynamics, and the ending. Real life includes another person with their own feelings, timing, smell, breath, noises, questions, and needs. Second, distance. Fantasy lets you flirt with themes that might be too intense to do overtly. The mental theater creates a layer of safety. Third, novelty. Your brain loves prediction errors. Surprise with safety, and fantasy can deliver exactly that in seconds. Finally, zero stakes. There's no awkward debrief after a fantasy, no fear of disappointment, no, what does this mean for us conversation. In other words, fantasy is a perfectly curated erotic lab, while real life is a beautiful, chaotic kitchen. You can love both, but you can't expect them to taste identical. Now, if you've ever worried that your fantasies mean something is wrong with your relationship or your orientation, breathe again. Fantasies are often symbolic. They encode feelings, power, surrender, admiration, safety, being chosen, being irresistible, being cared for. Decode the feeling, not just the plot. If your fantasy theme is being pursued, perhaps the core fuel is to feel unmistakably wanted. If your theme is control, maybe the fuel is competence and certainty. If the theme is taboo, maybe the fuel is transgression without consequences, a break from duty where you can be purely wanted. When we distill the fuel, we can ethically translate it into the relationship without importing anything you don't consent to. Let's bring in the brakes. When I meet people who say, "I'm turned on in my head but not with my partner," the brakes are usually pressing harder than they realize. Performance anxiety is a classic one, becoming a spectator of your own body, watching yourself from the outside, grading how you're doing. That observer steals attention away from sensation. Resentment is another quiet break. If you're carrying unspoken frustrations about chores, money, or broken trust, your erotic system will go offline to protect you. Distraction is a big one. Phones, deadlines, life. Your brain cannot track spreadsheets and nipple sensation simultaneously. Shame sits like a heavy coat on the system. The messages you learned about good sex, good bodies, good people can make desire feel dangerous. Pain or fear of pain is a break. So is lack of sleep, anxiety, medication side effects, hormonal shifts, and health conditions. No amount of fantasy can eliminate those breaks. We have to respect them. You don't shame a break. You get curious about what it's trying to protect. Context is the unsung hero of real-life desire. For many people, especially those with responsive desire, arousal arrives after the body feels safe, seen, and warmed. That means the sequence matters: the day, the tone, the lead up. If your daily life is loud, rushed, and crowded, your body doesn't know when to switch from vigilance to openness. Fantasy can hard switch because it's isolated. Real life needs a ramp. Think of a small ritual that signals your nervous system. Dim the lights, put the phones away, take a warm shower, slow your breathing, pick a playlist that isn't tied to work or workouts, change the scent in the room. You're telling your body, we've left the world of performance. We're arriving in the world of pleasure. It's not superficial. The sensory field is how the brain decides whether sex is safe right now. If you are partnered, remember that desire happens between people as much as within them. Someone can adore you and still not know how to read your cues. Someone can want sex and still be clumsy at pacing. If you always end up in the same script, 2 kisses, a reach, a silence, and then pressure, of course your body anticipates the same outcome. You can write a new script. Start with a short check-in that isn't a negotiation over sex, but a calibration over vibe. A simple, what would make tonight feel easy, is powerful. So is, what would make you feel unmistakably wanted? It could be 10 minutes of unhurried touch with no goals. It could be words. It could be skin to skin without moving toward penetration. It could be leaving clothes on to reduce vulnerability at the start. You're not lowering the bar. You're building a bridge. If fantasy carries themes you're unsure about sharing, you don't have to disclose the plot to share the fuel. Instead of I want scene X, try I want to feel more pursued, or I want to feel like I have full control of the pace, or I want to feel overtly cherished before anything sexual. Now you and your partner can design micro moments that deliver that feeling ethically. A text during the day that says, I've been thinking about the curve of your shoulder all afternoon. A slow kiss that lasts 15 seconds longer than usual, an agreement to keep touch exploratory for 20 minutes with no goal of orgasm, or practicing the sentence, slower, stay right there, without apology. These are small levers that shift big systems. There's an art to translating fantasy into action ethically. Think of it as building a fantasy bridge. Step 1. Identify the 2 or 3 feelings your favorite fantasy gives you: chosen, safe, powerful, surrendered, admired, unhurried, devoured, adored. Step 2. Choose ways to evoke those feelings that are fully consensual and aligned with your values. Step 3. Create rails, boundaries, safe words, opt-out phrases like pause or changing gears, and time limits. Step 4. Agree on aftercare. What helps your nervous system land softly after an intense scene, even if the scene was mostly emotional intensity. When you treat fantasy as a flavor, not a script, you preserve its magic and you protect the relationship. Now, let's bring in attention. Sexual attention is a train. You decide which track it rides. In fantasy, the track is set by default. In real life, you guide it with intention. Start by noticing micro sensations: the temperature difference between your partner's fingertips and your skin, the rhythm of your own breath inside your ribs, the way your lips feel fuller after a slow kiss. When the grating voice pops up, how am I doing? Is this enough? Am I taking too long? You answer, not now, and gently move your attention back to one sensation. Noticing is arousal's oxygen. It sounds simple. It is. And it requires practice because your attention has been trained by a world that loves speed and judgment. You're rehabilitating attention toward curiosity and patience. If you're someone whose body doesn't respond right away, know that your style of desire might be responsive. Instead of waiting to feel fully turned on before you begin gently and let arousal bloom with the sensations. There's no hierarchy. Spontaneous desire isn't better than responsive desire. It's like hunger. Some people feel hungry at noon daily. Some notice hunger only when they start to eat. For responsive desire, scheduling intimacy can be romantic, not clinical. What you're scheduling is the context, the ritual, the permission to slow down. Name it like a date with a flavor. Thursdays for warmth, Saturdays slow morning. After the movie, lights low, no phones. Anticipation feeds the accelerator and lets the brakes relax. Bodies vary, and what supports arousal varies with them. For penis owners, erection variability is normal, especially under pressure or fatigue. When the erection is treated as a report card, desire collapses. When it's treated as one way among many to play, the system relaxes. Expand the menu: hands, mouths, thighs, breath, words, toys, if you like them. Pleasure does not begin or end with penetration. For vulva owners, time and consistent external stimulation matter. Feeling safe, seen, and unrushed is not a luxury, it's physiology. Lubrication is not a perfect measure of desire, and lack of lubrication is not a verdict on your partner. Use lube as a default, not a failure. Across all bodies, pain is not a price of entry. If you're experiencing pain, numbness, or pelvic floor tension, seek a clinician who respects sexual health. You deserve comfortable pleasure. Let's get practical in a way that preserves mystery. Tonight, try a two-phase approach. Phase 1 is landing, 15 minutes with no sexual goal. Dim the lights, choose music that is not tied to your gym or your commute. Breathe in for 4 and out for 6 to tell the body it's safe. Share 3 micro-truths out loud. Something you appreciate about your partner, something you're proud of in yourself today, and something your body wants more of or less of tonight, even if it's small. More warmth on my back, less talking, less speed, more stillness. Phase 2 is exploring the edges of yes without leaving them. Touch stays at a 3 or 4 out of 10 on the intensity dial, and it stays there long enough to let your nervous system trust that it won't be pushed. You can always dial up. You can't return innocence once a boundary is crossed. Ending the night at a 7, not a 10, can be hot, I promise. It creates hunger for next time, and it teaches your body that intimacy is not a race. Language matters. Many people feel more turned on by the way their partners talk to them than by what those partners do. Words that mirror, not evaluate. I love the way you melt when I kiss your neck. Stay right here with me. I'm not in a hurry. Tell me what your skin is asking for. If talking is awkward, script a few lines in your phone notes and glance before you start. It's not cheating to prepare, it's caring. Silence can also be sensual when it's chosen, not because you're both scared to speak. Decide on a few hand signals, a way to say more, less, or different without exiting the moment. When communication carries warmth, your body moves from watching to participating. If you rely on fantasy and solo play and feel disconnected with a partner, try a gentle experiment. For 1 week, choose one solo session without any external media. Not as punishment, think of it as strengthening a muscle of internal attention. Follow your breath, your hand, your curiosity. Ask your body questions. Is this pressure the one? Does this rhythm want to slow? Do I want to be surprised or soothed right now? When you cultivate that inward conversation alone, you bring it to partnership more easily. Then, choose one partnered session where the goal is to collect data about what turns you on together, not to prove anything. Curiosity beats performance every single time. Now, it's important to name the big blockers honestly. If there's unresolved hurt, if trust was broken, if you're living like coworkers, if touch only happens as a prelude to sex, your system may withhold desire to protect you. Repair is erotic. Shared chores are erotic. Being listened to deeply is erotic. Seeing your partner care for themselves, their sleep, their health, their purpose is erotic. Desire likes to live where admiration lives. If you're carrying an invisible ledger, start there. Small acts of repair beat grand gestures of seduction. And if there's trauma in your history, it doesn't disqualify you from pleasure. It asks for patience, skilled support, and an approach where your consent is active and ongoing. There are therapists trained in trauma-informed sexual health. Your healing is worthy of expert hands. What does it really mean when fantasy turns you on and real life doesn't, beyond the mechanics? It means your erotic self is alive. It means your desire is discerning about context. It means something in your current setup, timing, pressure, resentment, anxiety, routine, lack of novelty, fear of being too much or not enough is crowding the signal. It means your imagination is offering clues. The point is not to export your fantasy wholesale into the bedroom. It's to import the feelings that fuel it. If the feeling is being overwhelmingly wanted, let that become a theme in the way you approach each other. If the feeling is power, create a scene where you set the pace and your partner follows your words. If the feeling is surrender, craft a container where you can let go because you've already agreed on boundaries and exits. You are not asking for too much when you ask for conditions that let your body say yes. I'll give you a simple framework to remember. Think of MAP, meaning arousal, permission, meaning, what does sex represent for you tonight? Comfort, celebration, rebellion, reunion? Tell each other the meaning, even in one sentence. The nervous system loves coherent stories. Arousal. What actually feeds your accelerator? Tone, smell, music, words, touch, pace. Select two and keep them. Remove two known breaks. Permission. What do you need to grant yourself to be here? Permission to take time, to not climax, to make sounds, to ask for stillness, to stop. Say it aloud. I give myself permission to. MAP is not a ritual of rules. It's an invitation to clarity. Let's talk briefly to the person who worries their fantasies are too out there. Most fantasies live at the edge of power, taboo, or intensity because the nervous system is chasing a strong signal. That doesn't mean you must enact them, it means you can honor the energy inside them. If the plot is too edgy, distill the essence. Maybe the essence is being seen as irresistible, or being fully in command, or experiencing complete surrender inside absolute safety. There are 100 gentle ways to evoke those essences without crossing your values. When you respect your boundaries, your desire trusts you more. If you've tried everything and still feel stuck, look at the invisible layers: sleep debt, anxious rumination, depressive flattening, perimenopausal shifts, thyroid issues, pelvic floor hypertonicity, medication side effects. This is not all in your head, and it's not all in your hormones either. Mind and body are teammates. Talk to a clinician who treats pleasure as a health outcome, not a frivolous extra. If you have a prostate and you've had surgery or a diagnosis affecting ejaculation, remember that orgasm and ejaculation can be separable experiences. Your erotic life is not over, it is changing its map. If you have a vulva and you experience dryness or pain, there are medical and pelvic floor interventions that help. Suffering is not the cost of intimacy. Before we close, I want to guide you through a tiny practice you can borrow tonight. Sit close enough to feel each other's breath. Decide on a time. 8 minutes is plenty. For the first 4 minutes, one person is the explorer and one the landscape. For the last 4, you switch. The explorer's job is to touch everywhere you would normally skip, at the gentlest pressure, with no goal to arouse. The landscape's job is to narrate simple data, not verdicts. Warmer, cooler, slower, more, not good, bad, better. When arousal appears, greet it but don't chase it. When it fades, greet that too. You are teaching your nervous systems that intimacy is a place of choice and discovery, not grading and goals. Paradoxically, this is what makes desire brave again. What you are experiencing, feeling lit up in fantasy and flat in real life, does not mean you're broken or secretly incompatible. It means you need to respect the choreography of your own erotic system. It means brakes need soothing and accelerators need feeding, and that order matters. It means your attention is a lover in its own right. When you direct it kindly, your body follows. It means stories, not just techniques, shape your arousal. The story of safety, of being chosen, of being allowed to take your time. It means that the way you live the other 23 hours and 30 minutes of your day matters to the 30 minutes where sex happens. It means there is no shame in loving fantasy. It's part of your erotic intelligence. You can learn to translate it. I want you to leave with this promise to yourself. I will stop asking my body to sprint on a cold start. I will build warmth. I will express what I want in feelings first, actions second. I will let desire arrive in its own sequence. I will repair the small things that suffocate eroticism, resentments, interruptions, constant urgency. I will invite play back in, and I will not make orgasm the only metric of success. I will treat my fantasies as love letters from my nervous system, not as verdicts against it. And I will honor consent in myself and with my partner as the most erotic word in our language. If you're watching this and thinking, where do I even begin? Begin small. Text one sentence of wanting. Light one candle you only use for intimacy. Take one shower alone before you meet in bed. Ask one gentle question. What would make tonight feel easy? Write down the top two feelings your favorite fantasy gives you and bring those feelings and only those feelings into your next kiss. Repeat what works and let the rest go. You don't need to fix everything. You need to listen to your body's wise, precise requests and meet them halfway. I'm Dr. Katherine Harris, and your desire is not a puzzle to solve. It's a language to learn. When fantasy glows brighter than real life, it's your cue to tend to the conditions, safety, time, ritual, curiosity, so the two can finally converse. The same brain that generates those electric scenes can warm your real skin when you give it the chance. Tonight, give it the chance.